speaking to it, I promise. Folks, I want to welcome everybody who is here. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to have an amazing event. Just for some context, to make sure everyone knows where they are and they're in the right place, you're at Riveter's How to Be a LinkedIn Branding Expert event. We're featuring the self-proclaimed, but also like a bunch of fancy magazines have called her this too, the LinkedIn Brand Sorceress. So now it's legit because other people say that as well. We're going to have a really good time. As always, this is a webinar working event, which means it's not your regular webinar. We're going to have half webinar where you're going to learn from Chantel about how to build your LinkedIn brand, how to think about your next video, what this means for the job search, how to do it in a way that is digestible, is manageable, and is really different from a lot of the tiresome blog posts that we've all read a dozen of. And then the really special part is we're going to take everything Chantel's talking about and we're going to apply that in small networking breakout sessions. And so we're going to divide up into teams, and you, over the next 30 minutes, I got a small challenge for you. Think about what your next LinkedIn video should be. And when we break up into networking groups, you guys are going to pitch this LinkedIn video idea and you're going to get feedback from each other. If anyone in Doug's group, he's going to give you really harsh feedback. Truth to power, Doug. That's what we called him back in college. But other people, we're here to make each other better. We're here to give each other support and ideas. So that's what's going to happen today. So there's a few notes. Put your video on if you're comfortable doing so. It's really nice to know who's in the room, see each other's reactions and responses. So if you're comfortable with it, put your video on. I would also love for everyone to drop their LinkedIn profile in the chat or send it to me directly. What I'm going to do is after this, I'll put together everyone's LinkedIns, send it out to everybody so you can all connect with each other, like each other's videos, post on them, comment on them, because that's how we all help each other grow stronger and put our brands out there in a bigger way. And lastly, if you have questions throughout the event, ask them, put them in the chat, raise your hand if your video's on, we'll call on you. I'm going to lead the discussion, but this is 100% your opportunity to ask Chantel questions. So thank you, Mary, who dropped in the first LinkedIn. Follow her lead, throw in the LinkedIn, and we'll connect everybody all together. Looks like people are still trickling in, so I'll add them in throughout. My new friend Kathleen is about to enter the building, so happy to see everybody here. Hey, Kathleen, what's up? Welcome. All right, so folks, let's get started on this Riveter webinar networking event. So happy everybody is here. Kathleen, dropping your LinkedIn into the chat is what we were just talking about. So Chantel, where I wanted to start our conversation, thank you so much for joining. Where I wanted to start the conversation is actually with your experience getting started on LinkedIn, why you got started, and what that had to do with your employability, with your career prospects at the time. What's your story?
All right, let's do this. Let's dive right in. Get deep. Okay, so my story getting started was I had gone through a severe career change unexpectedly and not by choice. I got really sick with autoimmune disease and I lost my vision. I lost my ability to walk. My hearing was damaged. I also had a newborn at home, so I was waffling everything and being unemployed. And now I had to apply for a job with checking that little disability box because I require reasonable accommodation with a vision impairment and some other things. So I was sending out resumes left and right and everywhere. I mean, for everything too. Even as a bridal consultant, helping brides try on wedding gowns with my 2 marketing degrees, which is fine. A job was still really important to me in feeding my growing family. And nobody ever called me back. Nobody. I mean, I probably 200 resumes for things that I was either way underqualified for, overqualified for, completely fit the bill. And I got frustrated. So I went to LinkedIn and I started creating content about what it's like to live with chronic illness and a disability in a world that's built for the healthy human. And the amount of support there, it was kind of more of a, not necessarily a journaling thing or a therapy thing at first. It was really to find other people that understood, as well as voice this problem that we have in our society that we're ignoring. We're ignoring the need to provide reasonable accommodation and accessibility for people because everybody works. Everybody's differently abled. Everybody works at a different capacity, a different ability level, etc. So it was beautiful to see that that unlike Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, where the trolls just come out of the woodwork and like pick on you for everything, LinkedIn was super supportive. Everybody was extremely encouraging. They appreciated the vulnerable topic, and my career just started to launch. People saw me, they were finding me, they could see that I had the capabilities. So even though that may not be the traditional sense, I work around it in a different way. And my career started to just, it's a dream. I'm like I told you before, I mean, I'm living the dream right now, and I could never imagine that this would be possible, especially having to deal with disabilities on a regular basis. So that's, I should also mention that I started, what really propelled it was video content. And I hated video content because the thing about multiple sclerosis is that you probably don't notice it today, but I have extreme lag, extreme brain fog, and I stutter and stammer on the bad days, and people would call me dumb and say to edit out those sound bites so that I was more professional and polished. But that wasn't me. I'm the person that shows up on the video. So it's kind of this balance of being able to accept the criticism and just kind of acknowledge it and send it goodbye and work towards my goal, which then would be generating business and opportunities. So that's how it all started, and I'm never looking back.
So so about 3-ish years ago, the company I was working at failed, and I would be unemployed for about 6 months before I landed my next job, which I absolutely adored. In the beginning, it's like, oh man, that really sucks. I feel awful, and it's a lot of negative emotions. After a little bit, for me, it was like, you know what? This is kind of awesome. And like, I'm just going to relax for a little bit and really enjoy myself. And I actually went and visited Corey in South America, and we had a very nice time. And then you come back and you're like, you know what? I can do this. I'm employable. I'm a rock star. I got this. And then bit by bit, it begins to wear on you a little bit. And I got tired, and I was like, well, I messed up a bunch of interviews, and I was like, well, can I really do this? Like, do I really have it? And at that stage, when you're 4 or 5 months into it and you're like, you're just tired, as chipper as you might be, you're a little bit tired, it can get tough. Now, what I want to understand, Chantel, is at this point, you're saying, and what you did is start posting, start talking about that a lot, start talking about yourself a lot, and find affirmation in other environments and other places. And that's how you get out of that mental rut. And that's also how you get out of that sort of unemployment period and put yourself out there in front of hiring managers, recruiters, whatever. For people who are at that stage, how should they start thinking about even the reason to post videos or communicate on LinkedIn instead of just kind of watching what other people are doing?
There was a lot in what you just said, and I don't even know where to begin.
I just had to spill my heart out to you all at once. That was that.
I love it. I feel like I need to reciprocate. Okay, so how to get started? What's your niche? What are you trying to focus in on? What's your dream job? Is it a CMO career? What does that look like to you? Running your own business into 7 digits on an expanding team? What is that? I want you to follow influencers that are already there so you can learn from what they're doing and growing. They have so much content that's already out there that you can learn and share something similar in your own voice, your own stories. But the biggest thing that I always warn folks of is that LinkedIn or any social media platform, if you want to reach your goals, it can't be a soapbox. It cannot be a bitch box. It can't be a place where you go and air your dirty laundry. So what I suggest, even on my hard days when I'm sharing an issue, I always provide a solution and then ask for other solutions, because people want to be solution based. They want to grow with you and learn from you, not just be there to support you 100% all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's put your own unique perspective on it. What is something that you've learned or or you can offer to people and then build upon that, right?
Exactly. Yes. People love to support you. People love to feel needed and have their voice heard as well. But it's usually in that more constructive arena versus an area where you are just sharing problems after problems.
So let's talk about niche and getting started on LinkedIn video from this perspective. So I'm looking at the people out here, and I'm seeing people who have had 30 years of experience in retail, people who have been heads of diversity and inclusion recruitment, people who have been executive assistants at really fast growing companies, people who have taught English in countries around the world, a lot of very specific skills in this group, how do they start taking this world of knowledge that they have and thinking about what they're going to post next, what they're going to do next, how they're going to actually share this and leverage that?
Oh, by sharing your story. I mean, as soon as you reflect in on how you got to where you are today and where your passion is with your career and where you want to be, that's what people want to learn. They want to know more about you so that they can connect with you on a deeper level than what we see on Facebook and on your photos on Instagram. When you're on LinkedIn, you can share about your struggles and how you got out of those struggles so other people going through it can, one, feel less alone, two, connect with you to learn more about you, and three, grow and better themselves as well. That's why LinkedIn has continued to grow exponentially over the last few years since Microsoft purchased it. It's just been super transformational. You see a lot of people sharing motivational things. It's easy to unfollow when you don't want to see the same stuff over and over again. Does that answer your question? I feel like there's so many different opportunities to do so.
You talk about being kind of batching and doing bite-sized content. I was watching a lot of your videos, and you do 2-minute videos almost exclusively, like you're right in that range. And it does look like you're wearing the same shirt in a couple of them. So it does look like you have an idea, and then you go for it and you cut that up. What's your process like for creating and scheduling the content you're going to put out in a week?
So the most important thing is to know who you are. So finding your personal brand and building your personal brand. This is a hot topic today because the world is extremely saturated. And the more you are on LinkedIn, you will see that LinkedIn is even becoming more and more saturated. There's a lot of people who sound the exact same and the message grows dull and it loses its magic. And that's what is very important for you to understand. What's your voice? How do you want people to remember your voice when they think of your name or they see your picture? How do you want people to feel? What are the values that you have in your heart that connect you to your lead job or your potential leads that you want to generate? Because you can say no to leads. It's easy to do that if it's not a good fit and they make you uncomfortable. So by building your brand, that's your foundation for all of the content that you're going to be building. So that said, my pillars are marketing magic. I use the word magic all the time because it instills that childlike curiosity and wonder in me, which should make everybody fall in love with the creative side of marketing, but that's a whole nother story. And then the disability side and inclusion and having these conversations around all of it. One of the things I suggest that everybody does to get started, can I share my screen so I can show you a content web?
Absolutely. You should have access to do that.
Okay. Never mind. I don't have it on the slide deck. Shoot. I just bit the bullet there.
Maybe send it out to us after and I'll share it with everyone.
Absolutely. Okay, so start with your core topic. What is your core topic? Maybe that's your job title. Maybe that's your dream job. And then what pillars of content spiral off of that? So for example, a luxury photographer, right? If that was their core topic, their subtopics could be color psychology in photography, the power of a first impression. And those things could lead off to psychology for strength and power and attraction. Also, topics, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of this off the top of my head now. The power of a smile or posture, body language that sells in these photographies. So as you will see, the topics will continue to feed into more and more topics until you have so much brainstormed content that'll last you forever. Webbing it out, it's called a content web. So you just start there and you keep spreading it and you will never run dry on content ideas.
So I want to pick on Doug, do you mind if I pick on you for a moment? Because I know you're usually game. So
go for it. I'm good. Yep.
Doug, let me know if I got the bio wrong, but you worked in retail for almost 30 years, right? You've been an operations expert in retail in multiple states at multiple levels. If Doug, with his retail experience, is now thinking about his content pillars that fall under his title of retail operating manager, what are some pillars that might fall under there for Doug?
I mean, if you looked at a resume that maybe your resume and you have your core skill sets in there, understanding customers, right? Maybe customer engagement is a big piece of that puzzle. You can talk about the benefits of communication, three must-haves when making eye contact with somebody. You can talk about the difference of culture and communication. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. There's so many different subtopics you can choose for just one. Operations is a huge one because there's endless things there: processes, procedures, people, so many things that feed into operations. I mean, if you ever run stale on ideas, let me know. I'm happy to help.
I think one of the challenges is not necessarily running out of ideas, but maybe figuring out your voice in terms of how you present it. So do you have any tricks that you would say for creating your video presentation that distinguishes you from others?
Yes. So it's like a lot of a lot of detail that here, let me share this with you.
And we'll send the slide deck out to everybody afterwards as well, so you guys can access it.
Yes. Let's share this slideshow from current slide. So this is my content recipe. Can you see this okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so a strong piece of content has a hook. You have 3 seconds to engage an audience member to stop scrolling and hang out with you for a few minutes. That means maybe starting with something controversial, maybe starting with an interesting question, maybe a big aesthetically pleasing intro. I'm not too sure. It could differ depending on your brand, but that hook is very critical. Those 3 seconds are important. Then you want to have those supporting points. So there's 3 different things that you can sprinkle in that people look for in a strong piece of content. That's either humor, a laugh, an emotional connection or inspiration or motivation is very trendy, or statistics for the academics in the field here. So you can play that, whichever one you speak to and your personal brand relates with most. That's something that, I mean, Tacosaurus Rex, that's humor, right? So you can play with a lot of these in the same piece. And then always ask a question. That question encourages engagement, which will then have your content in front of a lot more people. So that question would be, any question. What's your favorite book, or what's your favorite book on productivity, or something along those lines? Because then it gets people dropping things into the comments and having interesting conversations, and that will continue to increase your reach. In fact, engagement is the most important thing about a content strategy. It's not the content itself. And then a call to action is something that a lot of people miss. Even professional marketers miss it, because you get so caught up in understanding, okay, we want to generate leads, but what does that look like? What kind of leads? From where? And what are their backgrounds? So the call to action is, what do you want? What's your end goal with this content strategy? Is it to land a job? Then you want to make sure that you say, reach out to me for my resume. I'd love to send it to you. Or I have, the fun resumes are a big thing right now. Like, you can create a 6-pack of beer with your resume on it and ship it out to somebody. So you need their mailing address. You could brag about your cool resume tricks and share it and say, I'd love to send this out to you. Just give me your email address, or your mailing address, and I'll get it out the door. So that's just a basic high-level intro of a content recipe that drives results. And those results meaning reach, interest, and something that resonates.
So let me ask about reach, interest, and something that resonates. And this is kind of what Mary asked in the comments. And I had the same exact question. Mary's question was, is there anything that you've tried that flopped or didn't work as planned? And my question is the same, Chantel. Starting out on LinkedIn, you have a plan, you make a plan, you say, hey, this is going to be the day I'm going to put out my video. I've never done this before. I'm going to think through it. I'm going to have a call to action. I'm going to have a great hook, da-da-da-da-da. And then you get 4 likes and 2 comments, and you're like, well, a bit of a bummer. Should I do that again? Like, what was that like for you early on? Because obviously that's where everybody starts, is 4 likes and 2 comments, both of them being from you. And then And then what do you recommend people do when they get that? Because I get that all the time. I posted a video yesterday and it was almost crickets. Like, I'm sure people here who haven't posted videos before, the first ones are going to be tough. What's the advice there?
Well, those 4 likes or engagements and those 2 comments are still for real people and real people that connect with your message or did connect with your message. So please don't get caught up on the numbers. If you do, you will see it reflect in your content that you share, and you'll lose the quality that you were looking for the whole time. So don't get caught up on the numbers game. To answer your question, a lot has flopped in terms of me putting my all into these content strategies, especially being an advocate for different communities. Things can get a little controversial to the point where it doesn't feel comfortable anymore. And I will take things down and remove them. Even sharing stories that I didn't feel comfortable with sharing, I remove them. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Somebody can educate you on something new. It's a beautiful thing, as long as you're coming from a good place. So no matter what, I think the biggest risk you can take is not doing anything. When I got started, I was encouraged by a super user on the platform. Her name is Michaela Alexis, if that rings a bell to anybody here. She's a super creator, and she shared her story about going from penniless to president of a marketing agency. And she said, you need to get on video. Video's brand new. Nobody's using it. It has great reach and a way of building trust with strangers that no other form of content has. And my first video was me holding my service dog, saying, introducing myself. Hi, I'm Chantel Sumas, and I'm new to the platform, and I'm going to be talking about this, and this. It was something to break the ice, rip the Band-Aid off, and get comfortable with a very uncomfortable thing like making videos.
Let's talk a little bit about this specifically for the job search. If I'm looking for work, I'm making videos, sure, to build an audience and to do interesting things and put my thoughts out there and engage with other people. But let's be real, I'm doing this to get a job. How do you recommend, and how do you do this for your business, but also how do you recommend job seekers cultivate the right audience, make sure the right people see it, leverage these videos to get in front of hiring managers at the right companies? Build a connection for me between, all right, I'm posting videos about my pillars and made a chart or whatever Chantel said, and how am I going to use that to get a job?
I mean, there's so many different ways you can use it to build your community there with the right connections. Local recruiters, do you know the area that you would like to work in? If you do, reach out to and connect with all of the recruiters in the area and your special industry, different people who hold your dream job right now, so that you can see who they have in their community as well. You want to position yourself as an industry thought leader and influencer, because is what is going to keep generating that traffic and interest in you as a professional. So again, understand, what is that dream job? What are the skills and traits that you need to have mastered to land that job and be considered as the ultimate resource for it, the best fit to fill those shoes, and start creating content about it. Share data, share studies, share statistics. That's what people want, is that, especially in the job market, they want those quantitative pieces, not necessarily the qualitative. So anything with numbers or sharing results that you've experienced in the past, and the many things that you have been a part of to be part of the bigger picture of a corporation or company. That's what people want to see, especially people who are looking to fulfill their teams. Again, that's so many jobs are not published publicly, right? So it's important for you to be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease.
Yeah. Folks, let me pause here real quick and see. We're got about 5 or 7 or so minutes left here. But let me pause here and see if any of y'all have any questions. I've obviously got about 1,000 more, most of them about myself and how I grow pretty hair out. But we had talked about that earlier, so maybe I'll leave the hair for another time. Anyone have any questions that they want to ask about your own strategies, about LinkedIn in any capacity? You can drop them in the chat or raise your hand. If not, or just as you guys let that percolate, let me ask my next one. What kind of tools do you recommend people use to do this as simply as possible? One of my one of the people I follow a lot. His name is Tim Ferriss. He's a big podcaster. And one of his things is, A, everybody should start a podcast because it's the best way to talk to people who would never talk to you otherwise. But B, make something as easy as possible for yourself. And what that means in his capacity is do long form content, don't edit, just have a conversation. Don't do anything fancy, just put it out there. On LinkedIn, video can get fancy. And I know you have some videos with a lot of editing, with intros, with outros, with a lot of cool, magical witch, sorceress things. And then you've got some videos which is just you talking into camera with some subtitles. What are some of the basics? What's like video 101, either tools or ways to structure the video that people should use if they're just getting started?
Well, you must have subtitles, not just for inclusion purposes and accessibility, but because 85% of video consumed on LinkedIn is consumed without sound. So if you have a video there and you don't include the words, people are not going to know what you're talking about, and the chances of them actually clicking to understand more and read the full message are very, very slim. So include subtitles. There's a lot of tools you can use to get subtitles. Uploading your video straight to YouTube. Depending on how long this is the free hack that I use to save money and time. You upload your video to your YouTube panel, and within an hour you can generate their automatically transcribed captions and edit them. You know, they usually spell names wrong, and I have a very Midwestern accent, which is very irritating to be able to transcribe from time to time. So there is some editing that is required there. Definitely review those captions before you ever use them, because I had an F-bomb slip in and I did not say the F-bomb. It just got chopped right in there, and I didn't know until 15,000 views had already gone through, and one individual said, you know, I don't know if you know this, but you've got to fix those captions. And
You're just super passionate about LinkedIn video. Super freaking passionate.
I don't know. But there's a lot of other really great tools to use that are low cost, like ClipScribe. Are you familiar with that one?
No, that's CLIP Scribe.
Yeah.
I'll drop it in the chat.
ClipScribe. That one is very cost effective. I think it's like $12 a month, and it gives you the letter blocking, like the headline up top, captions on the bottom, your beautiful face in the center, with your video. Very cost effective, very professional, and easy to use. Also, Canva is a free tool that a lot of people use because it helps you create stunning imagery, documents. If you are creating content on LinkedIn to level up your career, it's important to touch all of the content formats. So that's articles, documents, images, text only, video, polls is a very good one, and LinkedIn Live if you can access that.
So that's a lot of stuff.
I know.
Right? It's a lot of stuff. Let's talk.
Play with it. Just play with it. Have fun with it.
Play with it. I love, and I want to build off that and ask about goals. I was reading your 20 tips for 2020, and one of them, a great article which you guys should look up on Chantel's LinkedIn, or I'll send that out to you guys. But one of them was have goals, because without goals, you don't know if you're doing a good job or a bad job. Talk about goals and goal setting, and how, again, should folks starting out think about what their goals are. You just said, try polls, try editing, try subtitles, try headers, try written word, try articles, try comments. It's a lot of things, but how would you, that's where you are right now because you do this professionally, but how would you say somebody should get started? What are the kind of the first key goals for the first 3 weeks of playing around with this?
So exactly. If without goals, you're throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. So for whatever goal works for you, I think that it will direct you in the right way with your content strategy. It's stupid to have a strategy if you can't measure it to see if it's effective, in my opinion. I mean, if you want to have a hobby, cool. You could go ahead and do it the other way. But that can be connecting with people. Maybe every time you post a video, you want to generate 100 follows, or, well, that's kind of aggressive. But you know, something along the lines of where you're at in your growth strategy. So follows, connections, just calls, like virtual coffees are very powerful because you never know what kind of collaboration or introduction can happen from those calls. But there's a lot of different kinds of goals that you can set up and control with your, in alignment with your content strategy.
Yeah. And if you're looking for more ideas, you know, you mentioned virtual coffees, networking. Obviously, networking is a huge part of job search, and it's just a huge part of career growth and all that. You can find ideas out of these networking conversations. If you guys look through some of my past videos, a lot of them are, oh, hey, I talked to this person today and I learned this thing and it was really inspirational. And I hope that you guys have a great day. And a lot of my things are pulled from the conversations with actually many of you folks who I have met. And for those who I haven't met, we should definitely talk. And I love hearing your stories. Chantel, one final question for you. Unless, let me pause again. Anybody have a question that they want to get in? Michael, I'm not sure if you might have been saying something earlier or not. No? No, it's a no. Anyone else? I want to give you a chance to ask Chantel a question directly. This could be about your own LinkedIn thoughts, something you did, something you want to trick her on and see if she messed up on before. But if not, we'll have another moment for that. And Chantel, my final question for you, as you look at where you've come from in just 3 years or so, right? You started doing this in 2017, you said. That's all right, Michael. You started doing this in 2017 when video was really new. Right now, I mean, you'll drop a post and it'll just because it's you basically get hundreds and hundreds of likes and comments and engagements, and you'll get clients from each one of them, and your goals are 100 new followers and all that kind of stuff. What would you tell your 2017 self if you were giving her advice back when she was doing her first postings and back when she was going through this internal drama of, man, like nobody's going to hire somebody who's disabled, or this is really challenging or whatever? And then Tanya will definitely touch on your question as well.
That's a good question. I don't know. I think the biggest thing that I struggled with was I've never had a problem with authenticity. You know, going through what I did with multiple sclerosis and hitting rock bottom, being a vegetable in a bed and not being able to care for myself at all, bless my husband's heart, I really lost all shame and was fine just talking about these things in a matter of a fact way. So I think the biggest thing then is that setting healthy boundaries, because as you network and you continue to build your network, it's important to establish those healthy boundaries with not necessarily expectations on every contact that you connect with, but understanding that, you know, we're all humans, we're all professionals, and we all have strengths and weaknesses. Nobody's perfect, and it's impossible to compare, whether that's in your chronic illness or your wellness path and journey or your content strategy. I've never gone viral. I mean, I'm the only person with like 80,000 plus followers that has never gone viral. And that's okay with me, because no matter what, the people who do engage, the people who do resonate, they are still people, and they're my people. Like, these are the people that I love, and they've welcomed me into their hearts. So I think that's the most important thing. Don't fall into the numbers game. Understand that everybody is dealing with their own things. Everybody's on an equal playing field, and it's tricky, but there is so much hope out there. Your career is there and people are looking for you. The only thing is if you're not making noise, if you're not getting noticed on LinkedIn, you're not going to get found, unfortunately.
I love it. Yeah, I talk so much about how job search is sales, right? You got to know what your pitch is in 60 seconds. You got to have a hook. You need to know how you're going to help the customer. In this case, it's the company. And on top of all that, marketing, top of funnel is everything. And your LinkedIn, that's your top of funnel. That's where you get your leads from. That's where you get your prospects. I'll go way too deep on the sales metaphor, but the point is you got to have a top of funnel. And it's got to be something fun and authentic that you love. You know, Chantel, if you look at some of her posts and videos, one of the last ones is about getting stuck in quicksand with her son. Like, it's just a silly thing that she got herself. Like, not silly, kind of scary maybe, but you were laughing. I don't know. But share those things, build your own audience, make some haters. That's one of Chantel's 20 tips is like, if you're not saying some stuff that some people are like, well, I'm not sure if I agree with that, then you're not saying stuff that's interesting. So play around with that. So let's give Tanya the last question here. Tanya said, what kind of cadence do you recommend? And I love this part, especially for those who are job searching and might not be able to maintain this cadence after securing employment. So what kind of cadence do you recommend during the job search? And then once folks get a job, what should their approach to LinkedIn be then?
Well, so the question, if I can word it a little differently, is that there's a professional and personal balance that you want to maintain that can last your whole life with you. But the thing is that personal brands evolve, and you are a totally different person than you were 5 years ago. And you're going to be a different person in another 5 years. So it's important to understand those foundations of your personal brand, your voice, your values, what makes you unique. Because to your core, you have differentiators that you've had since you were a child, since your upbringing, that you probably aren't quite aware of yet unless you do some deeper reflection, which I do have a couple things I could send your way. But those underlying values and those topics that really motivate you, that you are extremely passionate about, those are the things that can carry you through. Those are the things that no matter what changes in your life, they will always hold steady. So it differs for everybody. My favorites right now are neuroscience and quantum physics, which not everybody can connect with. And how does that relate to marketing? Well, it relates a lot, and I will make those connections. But making those connections in your own life with those core pieces and where you are at today versus where you were 5 years ago, or even where you were 5 years ago, because that's still a lesson and a story that you can share. These are all things that you can connect and continue to drive you forward. Does that make sense? I feel like that was a very vague, like political answer. I don't know.
Tanya, are you on here? Where are you? Yeah. Do you want to clarify that at all, or is that good for you? No, that's good. All right. Awesome. Chantel, well, thank you so much. So you dropped your LinkedIn into there. Everyone should definitely connect and follow. And I will, of course, share this out with everybody afterwards. So muted round of applause for Chantel. Thank you so much for joining. Chantel, now I need you to applaud everyone else here for joining, because it is so awesome that you guys are all there. Alzar, I like the clap. Epic. Mary with the party hat. Love it. But the party is not over. We actually have what I think is the most important part of this whole thing. We're going to now network with each other. You're going to make some new friends, and we're going to apply everything we just talked about to each other. So I'm going to divide out some breakout rooms. And what I want is for everyone to go around and in 30 seconds, let people know what it is you're looking for, what kind of job, what kind of connections. 30 seconds, super short. And then the second 30 seconds is what you think your next LinkedIn post or video should be. Right? 30 seconds, who am I? 30 seconds, I was thinking my next post should look like this. I'm going to talk about this. And then everyone take a moment and give some feedback. Ask a question. Say, interesting. I'd like to know this in your talk or whatever. So let's make this helpful. Let's make this beneficial. Chantel, you're going to be in one of the groups, and I'm going to pull you out halfway through and drop you to the other, and we'll switch. All right? All right. So the rooms are now opened. You guys should see a button on there to join a breakout room. So you can click that and disappear into there and hang out.
I'm focused on large companies based in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that want a problem solver and a relationship builder to grow and improve their diversity recruiting. I'm looking for a director of talent acquisition role. The next thing that I would like to do with video is I would like to do, one of those little circles that you see at the very top when you're on your mobile device. I want to do that. So that's what I'm looking. And the voice that I have, the brand that I've developed, is either talking about people with disabilities, talking about transitioning veterans, or talking about diversity recruiting. So it'll be one of those topics.
Cool. Mary, what's the circle? I'm not sure I know the circle.
So on your mobile device, you can see the little circles that you can do quick videos at the top. I have not done it yet.
Yeah.
Yes. So the little circle similar to like Instagram.
Gotcha. Very cool. And so
Yep.
what are you going to talk about? What's going to be your thing? Because
I'll
that's like a
talk-
live, quick 30-second
You're-
thing, right?
You're right. And so I'll talk about either people with disabilities, veterans, or diversity recruiting. Right now, I might be looking for suggestions and stories, but I might do this in a post as well, asking for successful networking ideas, because I'm in the process of putting together a presentation for a student group that I'm going to be doing in a couple weeks. And so instead of just hearing Mary's success stories, I'd like to get success stories from other people too.
I love that. That's awesome. I think the veteran work you do is awesome, and I love reading about that every time you post it. So that's
Thank
my vote.
you.
That's my vote.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Mary. Who's next? How about Ted?
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you, Adriel. I'm an art director, and I have actually just recently started looking for other work as well, because art direction is a very competitive field that really is looking for people who have more experience in online content than I do. So I've started to look into other fields. I just recently applied for a job at a not-for-profit, so I'm hoping that works out. It's not a really good 30-second elevator speech, but it's the reality right now. And actually, part of the reason that I wanted to join today was really to get some idea about what this was all about. I've never wanted to share a video on the web, so this is sort of new for me. And so I really don't have an idea of what I would share. It's very interesting to hear the rationale for why it is a good thing to do, especially if you're looking for a job. So I'm very intrigued.
Well, what might I'm looking up your LinkedIn right now to see
Sure.
what your last post was, Ted, if there was one. What might a post, oh, it looks like you haven't posted lately or in a while. What might, like, who are you looking for? And what's something, let me actually ask it this way. What's something that you know better than anyone else and you think other people would at least want to know your short 30-second perspective on? Whether you post a video or not is up to you, but what's something you know better than anyone else?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I really hadn't put any thought into it, to tell you the truth. So, and I don't have a quick answer for you. I don't.
All right.
You know, I'm a runner. I could go from that perspective, but you know, I don't have anything that. So the thing that intrigues me about this, and I imagine all of you have some insight into this, is, you know, when you're talking about what other people might want to know, and often from a perspective of somebody looking for a job, that might be something work related, you know, and how much of the expertise you've developed over the course of your career is something that you feel comfortable enough putting out there to other people. So from my perspective, it's sort of an open-ended question. I'm curious to know how other people feel about that.
This is Mary. I think people like hearing stories.
Mm-hmm.
And think of it as a way to engage, and maybe you can offer something to somebody, but you can also ask, because you
Sure.
always want to have a call to action at the end. So what I would say is, so if you're in art, so whatever art that is, because that's not my area, maybe you've gone to a recent exhibit, or maybe you've seen something, or maybe you've heard a speaker, or maybe you've read a book, you know, something like that, and then relate it to something common, you know,
Sure.
that is happening. So that's what I would suggest, doing something like that. So kind of combining the two, make it easy for people like me who don't know art, you know,
Sure.
that I want to engage. So that's a thought.
That's great. I appreciate it.
Who's next? How about Michael?
Sure, I'll go. So I, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to be reading an elevator speech because I'm really not good at it. I'm a creative professional, and I've worked in design and production management for large retailers and small manufacturers. And what I'm looking for right now is a way to continue to work with companies either in the industries I've been in, which are home fashions and textiles and apparel, or outside of that, to balance the creative process with production deadlines and business needs, managing resources, and you know, let's be honest, it's business. So most importantly, helping companies meet financial goals. As far as my next post, I have not done any videos. And I have heard a lot of talk about them, but I haven't done any yet. So I am actually thinking, I don't know if it'll be a video post, but I think my next post probably will be about, and you actually, Mary, sort of helped me congeal that very quickly just in what you were saying. I recently, just yesterday, went to the Frida Kahlo exhibit here in San Francisco at the de Young Museum. And one of the things that she did actually was she controlled her brand, for lack of a better term. You know, you always saw her painting herself in these, and she was often photographed in these very simple, traditional Mexican costumes, for lack of a better word. And she did experiment with changing that look and changing that idea of who she was, but she returned to it and she actually stayed on brand. And so I think that's actually kind of interesting that even back in, you know, 1930s and 50s, when Frida Kahlo was so busy doing her thing, she was still doing, you know, brand identity. So I think that's kind of what I'll be posting next.
I love that. I think that's so poignant, and I don't know, it's just simple, right? It's like, I went to the Frida Kahlo exhibit. I loved learning about how she controlled her entire brand by painting herself the way she believes in herself. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to do that same thing on video and understand my brand. Anyone have any tips? What's worked for you guys? Who has a good exercise about brand? Like, it's just so, the connection is so clear. I love that, Michael. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, and Michael, this is Mary. One of the things I would say is you have a very unique wall in back of you. So if you can use that, seriously, if you can use that to your advantage where you're highlighting, whenever it's Rolling Stone covers, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so if you can highlight something and tie that in, and then you have that behind you, that, I mean, that could be your statement. That could be your brand as well. So, I mean, it's a thought.
Actually, I was going to say too, I'm just going to tell you, I Green Day is like drawing my eyes. So I'm just going to say, I mean, you got a conversation or, you know, talking point right there.
I've got a whole wall of them.
Hey.
So.
Right. Like I said, it's an icebreaker right there. Just that alone is going to be just somebody, even if it's regardless of the video, somebody might just look at that and just bring up that as a conversation starter, just of, oh, well, you know, I was at the Green Day concert and so. Okay, you know, there you go. That at least gets the conversation started. Then you can go from there and say, okay, okay, that's interesting. You know, and
you should do a whole series of your wall of like, here's what I learned from Green Day. Here's what I learned from the Stones. Here's what I learned from.
I like that.
That could be like just a series that you do. I love it, guys. I'm gonna hop out, but Chantel's gonna come in here in a moment. So it was lovely to meet you all. I'm gonna bring everyone back and we'll say our goodbyes and cry and hug and the whole thing in a few minutes. But you'll see Chantel here in a moment. Keep sharing. Love the energy. Thank you.
Yep.
Thing for them, so like even if I say something, it's like they have a bunch of interns, so if something doesn't get as much traction, they'll never know who posted it. But yeah, kind of breaking up that anonymous wall to post as myself has been something that I haven't really considered before, and I don't know how I haven't, because part of most of my role is posting on LinkedIn. So
Corey, do you know Shanae Morey?
No.
Okay, so she's amazing. She's grown to like 300,000 followers in just a year, and she is bilingual. So every post she shares is in multiple languages. So if you could, since you're doing Portuguese, Spanish, and English, I mean, holy cats, you could do a lot there and grow a lot of communities.
Yeah, so I've been searching based on the language requirements or searching Latin America. And most of the jobs that come back are sales, marketing. Some are more technical data analysts, and I've noticed that they all require SQL and a bunch of other programming languages. So I started learning them to get certification so I can have the hard skills to back some of that up. So the re-education thing is something I think, Azar, you mentioned Salesforce, so I took note of that so I can, because again, like I'm searching all fields as long as they work with Latin America, which can be everything from oil and gas to healthcare to marketing to everything in between. I applied for another bilingual teaching job that's online. So I like the idea of using subtitles because I have to submit a sample video So I'm going to probably speak English, Spanish, subtitle the whole thing, make it pretty. So
Oh, that's awesome.
learning a lot here that I can at least use for myself and hopefully pay it forward to other people, maybe even just posting about this on LinkedIn and how it helped to inspire me to re-educate myself, do it for the love of the game, but also have the hard certificates or badges or whatever comes with learning some of those newly in demand skills.
And something I'd say too, Corey, Chantel was talking about grabbing people's attention. You have the ability to do something that a lot of us don't, which is posting in an unusual background. So you might challenge yourself to get outside and show us something different and something unique that you can't see here in the States. I mean, that's a great way to grab an audience too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of natural beauty. The light is terrible at the moment. Hills is
What are you showing us there?
I'm going to interrupt super quickly. Chantel, I'm going to move you to the other room so that team two, the B team. No, everyone's equal. Team two gets some Chantel love. So I'm going to move you and send you over there. All right. Sorry to interrupt, guys. Corey, by the way, I don't know if we've talked about this, but like one thing that for folks who don't know, Riveter negotiates discounts to things like classes or fitness apps that you guys are using. So one of the things where we've found a lot of success is where if you want to take a class, and that class costs any amount of money, you let us know and we'll actually negotiate a big discount on it for you. So folks want to support folks who are looking for work and they want to share that. And so that's been one thing. So if you find you can start with Salesforce Trailhead, which is free, but if you find like one of the paid courses or something, let me know and we'll make it a bit cheaper.
Cool. Salesforce Trailhead.
Yeah, Trailhead is like the Salesforce, I don't know, they built the whole class. And so I know a bunch of people who are taking Trailhead courses and it's all free. And I know some people who just decided to like upgrade to the premium ones or whatever, but Trailhead's all free. And I haven't done it, but I heard it's very good. I know a lot of people I talk to use it.
So were you asking me what the picture is, Doug?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, since we're talking backgrounds and you switched yours, what are we looking at now?
That was my office for 9 years. That is a fracturing location in West Texas right there. That's what it looks like. That's what it takes to get to crack rock at 7,000 to 8,000 feet in the ground and bring the oil and gas out.
That's great. I mean, that's a great, that's another great content example, right? Showing us something that very few people have seen. And then, using kind of a catch line, right? If you think this is hard, try doing this, something like that. I mean, that's a great way to grab people's attention because, and Adriel, you know better than I do, right? You get only, 3 lines, I think, before your picture, right? So you have 3 lines to grab people's attention. I don't know how many characters that breaks down to, but.
Yeah, Daryl, one of the things you and I talked about a week or two ago when we chatted was like, you have so much experience in so many different places and you're trying to figure out how to tie that together, right? For the next thing.
Right.
While the answer might not be super clear, one place to start could be, hey guys, look, I want to show you my office in, between 2003 and 2007. That's what that is. That's what that is. That's what I did. I moved that over there. Now you guys know. I hope everyone enjoyed this lesson in factoring sites. And then you do that for like all the different things that you know how to do better than anyone.
Yeah, I was just trying to tie it all together, right? And then make it relevant. That's the word. That's the word I've come up with is relevant. Yeah. Relevant to other folks because I have been in that background for 9 years. The hospitals for 6, and the world of submarines for 12. I worked in a mental health facility while I went to college. That's how I paid for my college education, or at least my ability to live for the 3 years while I was in college.
Yeah.
And I've been in 2 startups, so.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what Chantel was saying too, though, is just make it personal and you'll never know what resonates until you start putting it out there. You start putting it out there, then people will tell you how it's relevant or if it resonates. They'll react.
Right.
Did anyone, in a minute, I want to pull away so we can all, it's almost 2 o'clock California time here, so I got to pull away. Did anyone not get a chance to say their piece and brainstorm or get some feedback? Kathleen or Azar?
I did, yeah. I think
we all went.
Great, yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm going to pull everyone out then. you should get a notice bump to you. Thank you everyone for giving each other feedback. The few minutes I heard was really helpful and supportive. So Doug Truth to Power Ellerbrock is back.
Yeah.
Got a few of us back.
All right, looks like
Bring them all back. Rope them in. Grab them all.
that group is back. So thank you very much. That team. Ooh, Kathleen, is that a fish or is that just a fish tank with no fish?
Fish.
Oh, I see some fish.
Started with 5, but I've got 1 left.
Are they beta fish? Those are very they don't like each other.
Yeah, no, this is just a guppy.
We learned that the hard way when we were kids. My mom bought my sister and I a beta fish each and put them together. And
Yeah, exactly.
well, I don't know. They were both black. They looked the same. My sister claimed it. I'm not sure.
She was.
I'm not sure. She did once. She came back from a trip to Florida with 2 hermit crabs, one for me, one for her. And she was like, I get the bigger one. So she had the bigger hermit crab. She's 5 years younger than me. She had the bigger hermit crab. I got the smaller hermit crab. And then one day, my hermit crab beat her hermit crab up and moved into the shell of her hermit crab. So now my hermit crab outlasted. You always got to bet on the underdog. Go little guy. That's a lesson learned. Folks, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I really, really appreciate it. Chantel, you are a rock star. Thank you so much for spending this hour with us. I learned a lot listening and speaking with you, everybody. Really, really appreciate you coming. As a few final notes, we have some amazing events. A lot of you guys know the Who You Know Network and Trevor Houston. He's actually going to be speaking with us all about networking and job search on November 10th. So you'll all get an email about that soon. That'll be really fun. But most importantly, I want everybody to set a goal for yourselves, whether it's afternoon, evening, or early morning, wherever you are. Set a goal that today, this evening, you're going to do something fun for yourself. You're going to do something that you deserve for yourself, something that you've been putting off for too long, whether that be calling somebody you love, whether that's reading a good book, whether that's that bottle of wine you've been saving for a special occasion. Make tonight the special occasion. You've earned it. You deserve it. You are awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Follow Riveter. If you're not a member, check out riveterworks.com. If you are a member, follow us, like our videos, right? We're going to start putting out a lot more videos, and they're going to get so good after this. They're going to get incredible. Folks, thank you so much. Chantel, any parting words or words of wisdom you want to share with the crew?
Well, I was just in, both groups, and Sean made a good point about accountability. And you mentioned bringing everybody into a group so that we can help encourage each other and keep each other accountable. So that'd be amazing to pull everybody in and start sharing content so we can all feel more comfortable doing it ourselves. Or not me per se, but you know what I mean.
I love that. Well, Chantel, if you're ever nervous, you got a crew over here.
Thank you.
You got a crew.
I'm growing numb to it. I'm nervous.
You got a crew here willing to support you. I love the accountability. Folks, everyone who dropped their LinkedIn in, if you haven't yet, put it in there. I'll bring everybody together. Thank you all very, very much. Have a fantastic Wednesday. I love you all. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Chantel.